Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the Victoria ISD Board of Trustees hires new leader of Victoria Public Schools.
Plus, the owner of a local restaurant is giving back to the community this holiday season.
And in a 25 News Now Extra, Bloomington voters have a decision to make about the future of their community.
We'll be talking about how cold it'll be tonight, hopefully not freezing. Then we'll talk about the lovely weather and we'll take a look at your Thanksgiving weekend weather. All that coming up in a moment.
And the Victoria West tennis team hosted a fundraising event tonight at Victoria West Tennis Court. To highlight that and a lot more coming up in sport.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shauna Curry.
And I'm Don Brubaker.
Well, there's a new leader for Victoria Public Schools. The Board of Trustees voted unanimously at tonight's meeting in favor of hiring Sheila Collazo as the new superintendent. Collazo was greeted by members of the board and district staff. Some of her staff from Somerset ISD, where she's been working, were also there to wish her well in her new role. The superintendent search started in July with more than 800 applicants. That was narrowed to 8 candidates, then 3, and narrowed down to Collazo being the lone finalist in October.
She is the face of VISD from here on. She said it tonight in her comments. She is the brand ambassador for VISD moving forward.
Collazo's first day is December 2nd.
This morning, an explosion and fire broke out at an oil tank facility off of FM 443 near the Gonzales-Lavaca County line in Dreyer. At this time, no injuries are reported. The Shiner, Yoakum, and Gonzales fire departments were on the scene. Authorities say the fire is under control and contained. Mop-up operations are underway. U.S. Representative District 27 Congressman Michael Cloud's bill, the Dismantle DEI Act, passed out of the House Oversight Committee. This legislation would eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion practices within the federal government and return to a merit-based system in taxpayer-funded institutions. The bill is an effort to end all DEI-related activities within federal agencies and prevent DEI mandates in federal contracting and grants.
The University of Texas system is expanding its free tuition program, so undergraduate students whose families make $100,000 or less will receive free tuition and fees starting next fall. The Board of Regents is lifting the income threshold to expand eligibility across all 9 of its UT system campuses. The approval also sends $35 million directly to the universities to support the expansion, which will apply to eligible students at all 9 universities.
It's the holiday season, and one downtown Victoria restaurant is giving back in more ways than one. The Water Well Cafe 361 is not only a space where you can donate to the Salvation Army, but you can also help families in need by donating to the 75th annual Toys for Tots drive. Giving back is something owner Jennifer Rubio says is important to her and urges everyone to be a good neighbor and get in the holiday spirit.
We are the community of Victoria, and this is where we each have to do our part. Not just about giving toys, it's not just about feeding, our needs in the community, but being active. There may be one person, one family that just needs just a little bit more at Christmas time than we do. It's not just for Christmas, but every day.
The cafe is located on 215 South Main Street and is a restaurant she says is built off scripture.
A Victoria resident is asking for help with a feline frenzy in his yard. To read this full story, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. And this brings us to our viewer poll today. Are area leaders doing enough to enforce stricter stray and roaming animal ordinances? And I think it ticked up a percentage or two since the 6 o'clock, but obviously most of our voters feel that there's not enough being done to make sure that those are enforced as strictly as they need to be. But if you haven't voted, all you need to do is go to our website, crossroadstoday.com, and we thank everyone who took part tonight.
Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Orange Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis. Yes, Mac says it got to freezing overnight. How about
Even colder than I thought. I mean, I was going for 38. It wound up 32 this morning. So, yeah, we had the first freeze of the season. Tonight, I don't believe it'll be quite as cold because we've got a little bit of a south wind beginning to blow. We're looking for a low temperature of about 40 for us, but that's still a fairly chilly morning. And we'll be talking about what this weekend will hold and what holiday week will hold. All that coming up in just a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. Texas Parks and Wildlife is stopping oyster harvesting in areas across the state. On the list is San Antonio Bay. It will be closed to oyster harvesting starting Sunday. Texas Parks and Wildlife says it's due to a low number of legal-sized oysters to harvest. The problem could be caused by storms that affect salinity or increase runoff into the bay. Harvesting could also play a part. Texas Parks and Wildlife plans to reopen San Antonio Bay once their collected samples meet the required threshold. The Texas Department of Public Safety has a new leader. Freeman Martin is the first Texas Ranger to become DPS director. With over 30 years of experience, Martin worked his way up from trooper to senior deputy director. He's taking over from Steve McCraw, who's retiring after 15 years as the state's top law enforcement officer. Martin officially steps into the role on December 1st and will be sworn in during a special ceremony at DPS headquarters in Austin on December 2nd.
President-elect Donald Trump announces his new pick for Attorney General is Pam Bondi. Bondi previously served as Florida's Attorney General. The announcement came just hours after former Florida Congressman, Matt Gaetz, withdrew his name from consideration. Bondi was part of Trump's defense team during his first impeachment trial, and she also worked on a Trump commission focusing on ending the opioid crisis and combating drug addiction. Well, Bloomington residents face a big decision in May to incorporate or not, impacting the future of their community.
25 News Now Sunrise anchor Carolina Astrain spoke with several longtime residents about their thoughts on the community's growing pains.
In the last 20 years, the Bloomington population has remained somewhat stagnant. In 2000, there were 2,500 residents. Now that number is closer to just 2,000. Despite the lack of growth in numbers, residents are faced with a difficult choice in May, whether to incorporate or not. 70% of the community is made up of cabins for rent, but it wasn't always like this. Henry Mercado is an 87-year-old resident of Bloomington. He was a young child growing up in the community in the 1940s. He says most of the town's former landmarks are now where the cabins for rent stand today.
Well, the Bloomington that I remember, I used to know all the people around town. And now I don't hardly, 99% of the people I don't know. They're from living in their hoods.
Earlier this year, the leadership behind the cabins for rent attempted to get incorporation on the November ballot, excluding properties they don't own from the proposed city boundary lines. The community pushed back, and now there is a new incorporation effort led by the community, which would include all of Bloomington. The cabins are owned by a slew of limited liability company structures that are frequently dissolved and reestablished with different names throughout the years. Earlier this month, there was a multi-agency raid of the community's water department office, a building owned by one of the various companies that own the cabins. Longtime residents of Bloomington say these raids are nothing new.
I see a lot of raids, a lot of FBI things, and that saddens me to see that today. But I'm glad the presence is here, so those things are taken care of.
Tiki Vengler says she used to ride her horse all over Bloomington as a teenager. She says her brother used to live in one of the cabins. He shared a water heater with 3 other units.
You know, he would come to my house to shower a lot of times because he had no hot water.
Don Reyes, a 71-year-old resident, says he remembers when Bloomington had a pharmacy, a movie theater, and a cafe.
Back in them days, that's where the fun was, go to the movies,
Reyes built a 5-bedroom home for his family, where he still lives with his wife, but his children have grown and left town. While he's not sure if they'll move back to take care of the home he built, Reyes says he hopes it stays in the family. With the possibility of incorporation, Reyes says he hopes it leads to city parks and more amenities for children to enjoy. Danny Garcia, Victoria County Commissioner for Precinct 1, describes his childhood in Bloomington as something out of a magazine.
So my fondest memories were that, like Mayberry town, running around town, riding your bike wherever you wanted, walking to school.
Michael Monroy, who moved away but then came back to Bloomington, got emotional when thinking about how his parents would react if they saw Bloomington now.
If mom and daddy were still alive, it's just a shame.
Monroy says as long as the original families of Bloomington stay together, they'll have a fighting chance of taking back their town.
We are all kin, we're a close family, and we help each other. That's the way we're going to survive. We need to build a stronger Bloomington.
Sticking together is all they can do until the ballots are cast on May 3rd. Carolina Astran, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
Well, if you're curious about how Bloomington has changed over the years, you can hear more stories from longtime residents about the community's past on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today, hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, less potent fentanyl pills may be playing a role in a decrease of U.S. overdose deaths.
Also ahead, severe weather is impacting people on both sides of the country, from snow to deadly storms.
Some of the top headlines right now in the Victoria Advocate: what it's like to be homeless in Victoria. And the Victoria ISD introduces a new revenue stream for playoff game transportation. You can read those stories and more at victoriaadvocate.com, or you can pick up a copy at a store near you.
The Drug Enforcement Administration says less potent fentanyl pills may be driving down U.S. overdose deaths. The DEA reports in an analysis about 5 out of every 10 fentanyl pills tested this year had lethal doses of the synthetic opioid painkiller. That's down from about 7 of 10 pills last year. Meanwhile, federal data shows overdose deaths dropped nearly 15% for the year ending in June. Experts warn there are limitations to this analysis. For one, illicit fentanyl is more commonly found and used in powder form. Also, what the DEA defines as a deadly dose of fentanyl is subjective, since individual responses can vary. There is also increased access to naloxone, which rapidly reverses opioid overdoses. Stomach pain, diarrhea, and weight loss, along with some other ongoing health issues, could be signs of a condition known as inflammatory bowel disease, also known as IBD.
With more, here's ABC News' Melissa Adon.
Recurring digestive problems, weight loss, and joint pain may indicate inflammatory bowel disease, according to the CDC. Inflammatory bowel disease refers to a group of lifelong diseases affecting the intestines. IBD includes diseases like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. IBD occurs when the body's natural defense system mistakenly attacks healthy bowel cells. This causes inflammation and other damage that does not go away on its own. IBD symptoms come and go. They can range from mild to severe. While IBD is lifelong, many therapies can help control symptoms and allow people to lead active lives. Keeping up with medication is the best way to control IBD symptoms and flare-ups. Take note that this disease can sometimes be confused with other conditions like lactose intolerance or colon cancer. So if you have any of these symptoms, schedule a checkup with your doctor. With this Medical Minute, I'm Melissa Adon.
More than 167,000 pounds of ground beef are recalled due to possible E. coli contamination. The beef was shipped to restaurants nationwide from Wolverine Packing Company. Since the beginning of November, 15 people who had eaten ground beef reported feeling ill in Minnesota. A sample tested on November 20th was positive for E. coli. Impacted items could have been fresh or frozen. Symptoms of E. coli infection include severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, fever, and vomiting. They typically subside within a week. Well, severe weather is hitting hard across the country. The Midwest saw snow today. The East Coast bracing for its first big winter storm, and the West is battling deadly storms.
A bomb cyclone, that's what it's called, in the Pacific Northwest brought down trees, killing 2 in Washington state, while Northern California faces flash flooding from an atmospheric river. Meanwhile, the Northeast is finally getting some rain and snow after a long drought.
The Pacific Northwest feeling the impacts of a bomb cyclone off the coast, as well as an atmospheric river, with some parts in Northern California seeing wind gusts up to 98 miles per hour and nearly a foot of rain. This massive tree in Northern California falling onto a home, roads flooding, creating slick conditions. In San Francisco, a tractor trailer jackknifing across 4 lanes of traffic on the Bay Bridge. At the height of the storm, about 500,000 people without power. In the Seattle area, the powerful storm system snapping trees, killing 2 people, including a woman who was killed while taking a shower inside her home.
Everything's closed down.
In the Northeast, rain finally arriving in some drought-parched areas that haven't seen significant rain since September, making conditions ripe for wildfires. While this will help, it will not be enough to end the drought. In Pittsburgh, trees coming down as a winter storm warning has been issued for parts of Pennsylvania and New York.
I saw out our side window the black cloud, and then I heard the cracking and the thudding of the trees coming down.
Snow coming down in Chicago as the same system bringing rain to the Northeast is also bringing the first snow of the season for parts of the Midwest. Back in California, state and local officials are asking people to heed the warnings. This as rainfall totals over the next 3 days could reach up to an additional 6 inches. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, coming up, we'll be talking about where those storms will be going. For us tonight, another cold night. We're down to 48 degrees already. I'm looking for a low of about 40, but this morning, you're not going to believe this, we got down to 32. First freeze of the season. Hopefully it didn't, catch your petunias on the patio or something like that. Our high today was 75 compared to 72, our average. We'll be talking about the next few days, and then we'll take a really long look all the way to Thanksgiving coming up in a moment. Want to take a look at the rainfall totals that we've had for the last 5 months. Back in July, when we were getting thunderstorms, we totaled up at 6.74. That was really good because that was 3 inches above our normal July. Then August, things started getting quiet. We only had 145, and that was 1.66 below. September, we had 230, which is not good enough for September because that was 2 inches below. October, we had 1 drop, okay, 1 drop, and that put us 4 inches below. And then November so far has been very dry. I mean, we've only had 4,700s for the entire month, and I can see the end of the month really close by, so that was also way below. So you get the idea, we really could use some good rainfall. The thing is, in winter, we get light rain. I mean, it may be sloppy and cold and wet, but we won't get, 3-5 inches of rain, anything like that. That's a completely different weather map. The north wind was kicking in last night, and that's what brought us the cold, dry air. Tonight, we have a little bit of a south wind, and so I really don't think it'll be quite as cold. Let's take a look at the east coast. There's the huge winding storm like that. You can see how the moisture from the Atlantic is being picked up, comes back around, and it's turning into snow as it's getting quite cold behind this cold front. It started off in the Midwest. It's in the Ohio Valley tonight, and it'll be rolling into New England by tomorrow. And then on the other side of the world, the Pacific is just very angry tonight. The swells, you can just imagine the surf out here in the Atlantic with 50, 60 mile an hour winds blowing around this one and that one. And there's the rain that's occurring in San Francisco. This is a very important spot. It's the high point of the freeway that goes from LA over to Bakersfield. It's called the Grapevine. Officially, it's Fort Tejon, California, but it's snowing that far south. Okay, this is only 3,000 foot elevation, so that's very cold air, even that far south. And of course, this is just pretty as a picture, as you can see right about there. That's Maxwell's house in Columbus, Ohio. So the first dusting of the season, and thanks to his dad for sending us that photo. Tonight, for us here in the Crossroads, 40 degrees, 44 in Houston, 44 in San Antonio. So I don't think it'll be way low 30s, but it'll still be chilly as you head out the door in the morning hour. But it's going to be another beautiful day. Low humidities, temperatures in the mid 70s, not bad at all. Things are looking really good for us into the weekend, but we're going to start warming back up into the 80s by then. Let's take a look at, excuse me, Future Tracker. As you can see, that winding storm out there is going to continue going round and round and round. And that's why they're so concerned that places from San Francisco north are just going to get hammered with rainfall. This is going to be a huge snow thing for the Sierra, then the Wasatch in Utah. And what about us? Well, this next map will give you a little bit of an idea of what we expect. Basically, the storm is going to break down and then start moving across the Rockies. Then it gets to our area by the time we get to Thursday. Not a huge storm, just enough to get us a little rain. Tomorrow, beautiful, 78 in Port Lavaca. Tomorrow in Cuero, looking beautiful with a high of 78. And there you see warmer weather for the weekend. By Wednesday, we get the tail end of that front. We'll cool the temperature down into the 70s. We'll be cloudy and we'll have a few little light showers. And that's for Thanksgiving. That's your 7-day forecast. They're reminding everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And Max, thank your dad for sending us the photo. You're probably happy you don't have to be digging out the backyard, right?
Yeah, I'm happy I don't got to deal with the cold right now there, Mac. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad it's, 64, 65 right now? I'm glad I get to deal with that, not 33 degrees, which it is right now there in Columbus. But also, getting back here to sports again. Today is Thursday, so that means our athlete of the week. I'll let you know who that is coming up in sports. All right, so the past couple of weeks we handed it to Bay City quarterback Alex Estrada, Calhoun linebacker Coden Judd, therefore Athlete of the Week. But this week, we're going to hand it back to another Sand Crab football player and running back Fisher Frank. Here's sports reporter Ray Robinson with our Athlete of the Week.
We're deep in high school football playoff action, and last week I witnessed the Calhoun Sand Crabs take on the Zapata Hawks. The first round matchup saw the Sand Crabs come out with the impressive 56-14 victory. Your Athlete of the Week, Fisher Frank, first half performance was more than enough to anchor the victory. Frank finished leading his team in rushing yards with 215 and 4 touchdowns, which also led the team.
I mean, it was definitely far and away probably my best game all season statistically. There was a couple things on paper that I could have done better, but as far as statistics go, it was definitely my best game. My line up front, we've come such a long way this season, from the beginning of the season, all around, man, we've come super far. I got to credit Parker. He's making the right decisions, putting the ball in the right spots, and we wouldn't be anywhere we are without him.
Frank's humble approach was credited from his parents. They instilled in him that why you should always give credit.
I want to credit probably my parents, most of all. They definitely have raised me to be humble in a sense to where I got to be confident in myself and my abilities, but at the same time, I have to give credit where credit's due to the people who deserve it.
Ray Robinson, KVU TV 25 News Now, Sports.
All right, Ray, but now we're going over here to some Thursday night football here in the second round of the playoffs. And the Edna Cowboys to face the Cole Cougars tonight. Again, this game started off crazy here. Again, the Cowboys, they scored early in this game in the first quarter. Chase Schubert, again, found the end zone, number 4, Keegan Hicks. On the screen pass there just a minute ago, they took the 7-0 lead. But then, after being up 7-0, Chase Schubert finds another player again, and Hicks does a crossing route and just gets untouched going there to the end zone. And Edna would get up there 14-0, and this one wasn't even close here for Edna. They took care of business 48-0. The final score tonight was over the Cole Cougars, and for Edna, they're still on a mission trying to win the state championship. They will either face the Rio Hondo Bobcats or the Randolph Rollhawks. That will be their next week there. Again, we'll still figure out what that time will be as both those teams play tomorrow night there, and Edna will figure out who they'll play next week. But now let's go over to Victoria West Tennis. I highlighted them yesterday there on a little feature I did, and they had their fundraiser tonight at the West Tennis Courts there. It was a decent crowd that showed up there to support the West Tennis team. They're again trying to get some money for more spirit wear and other equipment heading into the spring season. And tennis head coach Crystal Blazek talks about what this fundraiser means to the tennis team.
This is our first year doing it. It's a time where we're kind of in the off season right now where we can sit back and kind of have fun. Goal is to hit so many balls over the net, and then, you know, people can sponsor or just make flat up donations. Oh, I think it's great because the kids are involved and they get to put back into something. As you know, they're actually getting to participate. Parents and community members, anybody can come watch. We encourage it, and I just think that's good for just the community and also for the team building and every way. Just no tennis is around.
Now Blazek and Victoria West tennis team, now they got to focus their attention now to the off season. And again, we can't wait to see what they do going into the spring. And that's going to do it here for sports. Don and Shauna, back to you.
All right, Max, thank you. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a store in Hawaii unwrapped an unexpected surprise while unloading a shipment of Christmas trees, prompting a call to the state's ag department. Those people were kind of rattled.
A store in Hawaii gets quite the surprise when a live snake was mailed there. Take a look. The 2-foot-long snake was found in a shipping container of Christmas trees at a store in Hilo last weekend. Staff spotted the snake about halfway through unloading the container. I'm sure there were lots of loud screams. The workers immediately closed it back up, called the state's agriculture department. Officials did identify it as a non-venomous gopher snake, but it'll soon be sent from Hilo to Honolulu. Inspectors did check every Christmas tree, the rest of the container, just to make sure, and luckily that was the only one that made it on the journey.
In a one-horse sleigh. Yeah. Windsor Castle is all decked out for the holidays.
Wow.
This year, the star of the show is the 20-foot Nordman fir in St. George's Hall. It was brought over from Windsor Great Park, and it's a sight to see, as you see there. There's another dressed-up tree in the Crimson Drawing Room that is still used by the Royals, but open for visitors in the winter months. Visitors to Windsor Castle can take in the property's Christmas decorations on most days between now and January 6th. My
Very
goodness.
pretty.
That's very nice.
Wow.
Hey,
Yes.
it's looking like the holidays. Don't you get the feeling? You know, the snow and
It seemed a little early till we got the cold weather. Then it was kind of like, okay, now
this
I'm,
is it. It's the time.
Yes.
It's that time. Tomorrow morning it'll be about 40 degrees and you head out the door. But it's a beautiful day. Once the sun comes up, you're going to enjoy it with temperatures in the 70s. We're still good through the weekend, except it gets a little warmer. And it will be warm on Monday, but by Wednesday of next week, I expect the remnants of that West Coast system to drag through the plains. And if you're going to be traveling outside of Texas, you're really going to have to keep track of that storm as it progresses across the country. We're going to get cooler and a little damp, but I wouldn't call it heavy rain for Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, run as fast as you can. You can't catch him. He's the gingerbread man. Or maybe you can. Today is National Gingerbread Cookie Day. It comes at the perfect time with the holiday season upon us. Many celebrate the holidays by turning the cookies into gingerbread houses. Gingerbread has been around for centuries, dating back to at least 992 AD.
Wow.
To celebrate, you can either make your own gingerbread man or buy one of the kits and build a gingerbread house. So again, getting into that spirit.
That's right.
So,
Exactly.
well, thanks for joining us tonight.
And join Carolina Astroin and meteorologist Parker Cox. 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.